Public transportation is meant to make life easier, but in some cities, it's anything but convenient. Imagine rushing to work only to find your subway packed beyond capacity, buses stuck in endless traffic, and delays that make a short trip take hours. For millions of commuters around the world, this is an everyday struggle. In today's video, we're counting down the most challenging cities for public transit commuters, from overcrowded metros and unreliable trains to chaotic bus systems that test patience and endurance. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to discover top 10 places, and tap the notification bell so you never miss our eye-opening global rankings and city guides. Now let's jump right in and see which cities made the list. Number 10, Rome, Italy. One of the world's most iconic cities is not nearly as impressive when it comes to its public transportation system. The city's metro is surprisingly small for a capital of its size, with only 3 lines compared to cities like Paris or London that boast extensive networks. This limited coverage forces many residents and tourists to rely heavily on buses and trams, which are often overcrowded and prone to delays. The lack of efficiency means that even short commutes can become drawn out and stressful, particularly during peak hours when buses are packed far beyond comfortable capacity. One of the biggest challenges in Rome is the system's unreliability. Strikes are a common occurrence, often disrupting service without much notice, leaving commuters stranded or forced to find alternative, less efficient options. Trains and buses also suffer from frequent breakdowns and maintenance issues, reflecting years of underinvestment and poor management. Rome's historic layout further complicates expansion, as archaeological concerns often stall construction projects, preventing the development of a truly comprehensive metro network. As a result, the city's infrastructure has failed to keep pace with the growing demands of its residents. For commuters, these challenges add up to a frustrating daily experience. Long waits, inconsistent schedules, and overcrowded conditions make relying on public transit a gamble. Tourists, too, often find themselves lost or delayed, as the limited system makes navigating Rome more difficult compared to other European capitals. While the Eternal City dazzles with history, culture, and architecture, its transit network is a weak link that makes life far more difficult for the millions who depend on it. For many, public commuting in Rome feels less like convenience and more like an unavoidable struggle. Number 9, Lagos, Nigeria. It is infamous for its chaotic and overwhelming transportation system. With a rapidly growing population of over 20 million people, demand for public transit far exceeds supply. The city lacks a fully integrated and reliable formal transit system, which forces most residents to depend on overcrowded buses, minibuses known as danfos, and motorcycle taxis, okadas. These informal modes of transport dominate the streets, but they are often unsafe, poorly regulated, and highly unpredictable, making commuting a daily challenge for millions. Traffic congestion, known locally as go-slows, is another defining feature of life in Lagos. The city's roads are often jammed for hours, with vehicles crawling at a standstill during peak times. Buses and danfos frequently stop in the middle of the road to pick up or drop off passengers, creating even more bottleneck. For commuters, a short trip can take hours, and delays are so common that people often leave home hours earlier than necessary just to arrive on time. Poor road infrastructure, with potholes, flooding during rainy season, and inadequate traffic management, only adds to the stress and unpredictability. Safety is also a major concern in Lagos's transit system. Overcrowding is rampant, accidents are frequent, and road conditions contribute to high crash rates. Pickpocketing and petty crime are common in crowded buses, while the lack of consistent enforcement means reckless driving goes largely unchecked. While the city has been making investments in modern solutions like the bus rapid transit (BRT) system and limited rail projects, these improvements currently serve only a fraction of the population. For now, the majority of commuters continue to face daily struggles, navigating a transit network defined by congestion, chaos, and unpredictability. Number 8, London, United Kingdom. Its underground, famously known as the Tube, is one of the oldest and most iconic transit systems in the world, but it also presents serious challenges for commuters. With millions of daily riders, overcrowding during peak hours is a major issue, particularly on lines like the Central, Northern, and Victoria lines, where trains are often so packed that passengers must wait for multiple trains before squeezing inside. Despite the system's extensive reach, delays, breakdowns, and closures due to maintenance are frequent, leaving commuters frustrated and often scrambling for alternative routes. One of the biggest complaints about London's public transit is its cost. The city is home to some of the most expensive fares in the world, with commuters spending a significant portion of their income on daily travel. Even with options like travel cards and passes, the high price makes commuting in London a financial burden for many. On top of this, ongoing construction projects and strikes regularly disrupt service, adding more uncertainty to an already stressful commute. These issues highlight how even a well-developed transit network can fall short when demand outpaces capacity and infrastructure struggles to keep up. The complexity of London's transit system also poses challenges for both residents and visitors. With multiple operators, overlapping routes, and constant service changes, navigating the system requires careful planning and flexibility. Tourists often find themselves lost or overwhelmed by the sheer number of lines and connections. For daily commuters, the combination of high costs, overcrowding, and unreliable service creates an exhausting experience that takes a toll over time. While London remains a global capital with incredible connectivity, its transit system is far from smooth, making it one of the most challenging cities in the world for public transport commuters. Number 7. Manila, Philippines. The bustling capital of the Philippines is infamous for having one of the most stressful and inefficient public transit systems in Asia. The city's main rail system, the Metro Rail Transit, MRT, is notoriously overcrowded, with commuters often waiting in line for hours just to board a train. During peak hours, platforms are packed wall to wall, and trains frequently operate beyond their safe capacity. Breakdowns and technical malfunctions are common, sometimes stranding passengers mid-journey or forcing long delays. For millions of commuters, riding the MRT is less a matter of convenience and more of endurance. The challenges extend beyond the railway. Manila's chaotic road traffic makes buses and jeepneys, iconic minibuses, that are a staple of Philippine transport, unreliable and unpredictable. Congestion is so severe that the city consistently ranks among the worst in the world for traffic. Commuters often spend several hours each day stuck in gridlock, with journeys that should take 30 minutes stretching into 2 or 3 hours. Jeepneys and buses stop anywhere to pick up passengers, adding to the traffic jams, while poor enforcement of road discipline only worsens the situation. These delays not only waste time, but also drain commuters' energy and productivity. Infrastructure limitations and lack of proper investment are at the core of Manila's transit woes. With limited rail lines serving a massive population, the system cannot keep up with demand. Flooding during the rainy season further cripples both rail and road transport, leaving commuters stranded. Safety is also a concern, with overcrowded platforms, insufficient security, and poorly maintained vehicles increasing the risk of accident. For many Manila residents, commuting is not just an inconvenience, it's a daily struggle that affects their quality of life, making the city one of the toughest places in the world for public transit users. Number 6. Paris, France. It boasts one of the most extensive metro systems in the world, with 16 lines and hundreds of stations connecting nearly every corner of the city. On paper, it seems like a commuter's dream, but in reality, the experience can be incredibly frustrating. Overcrowding is a daily issue, particularly on lines like the 1, 4, and 13, where trains are so packed during rush hour that many commuters have to wait for multiple trains before boarding. Heat and lack of air conditioning in older metro cars only make the situation worse, turning daily commutes into uncomfortable ordeals. Strikes and labor disputes are another defining feature of Paris's transit challenges. The city is notorious for frequent transit strikes that can shut down large parts of the system, leaving millions stranded and forcing them to walk, bike, or fight for space on overcrowded buses. Service disruptions are common even outside of strikes, as maintenance work and aging infrastructure frequently cause delays. For commuters, the unpredictability of whether trains will be running on any given day adds significant stress to daily life. On top of that, safety and reliability are growing concerns. Pickpocketing is widespread in crowded stations and trains, making daily commutes stressful not only physically but also mentally. Infrastructure in some stations is outdated, with narrow platforms and insufficient accessibility for people with disabilities. While Paris is undeniably one of the most connected cities in Europe, its transit system often feels like it's straining under the weight of its own success. For residents and visitors alike, commuting in Paris can be an exhausting, unpredictable, and at times overwhelming experience. Number 5. Jakarta, Indonesia. The sprawling capital of Indonesia is notorious for its chaotic traffic and overburdened public transit system. Until recently, the city had no fully integrated subway system, leaving commuters heavily reliant on buses, minibuses, and informal transport options like angkot. Even with the recent introduction of the MRT, many residents continue to face long waits, overcrowded buses, and unpredictable schedules. With millions of people navigating limited transit options daily, commuting in Jakarta often feels like a high-stakes test of patience and endurance. Traffic congestion is a defining feature of the city, affecting both public and private transportation. Roads are frequently gridlocked, particularly during peak hours, with vehicles often moving at a crawl for hours at a time. Buses and other transit vehicles are stuck in the same jams as cars, meaning that even supposedly faster routes via public transit can be slower than driving. The combination of overcrowding, lack of efficiency, and inconsistent schedules makes commuting exhausting and highly unreliable. Safety and infrastructure further complicate commuting in Jakarta. Many roads and bus terminals are poorly maintained, with potholes, flooding, and limited lighting, creating hazardous conditions. Pickpocketing and petty crime on buses and crowded stations are also common. While the MRT and other modernization efforts are a step in the right direction, the city's enormous population continues to overwhelm the system. For residents, daily commuting is a stressful, time-consuming challenge, making Jakarta one of the toughest cities in the world for public transit users. Number 4, São Paulo, Brazil. It is home to one of the busiest and most overburdened public transit systems in the world. Millions of residents rely on a combination of metro lines, suburban trains, and buses to navigate the sprawling metropolis. While the city has made significant investments in transit infrastructure, the rapid population growth has outpaced these improvements. Overcrowding is a daily reality, with trains and buses packed beyond capacity, leaving commuters struggling to find space and endure long, uncomfortable rides during peak hours. Service reliability is another major challenge in São Paulo. Frequent delays, breakdowns, and maintenance issues make commuting unpredictable. Strikes by transit workers are common, causing widespread disruption to millions of daily riders. Buses and trains are often delayed due to traffic congestion on roads and shared railways, meaning that even supposedly fast transit options can take much longer than expected. For many residents, commuting in São Paulo requires flexibility, planning, and a thick layer of patience to navigate the daily chaos. Safety concerns add to the difficulties of commuting in São Paulo. Overcrowded vehicles and stations create opportunities for petty theft and pickpocketing. In addition, some suburban train routes and bus stops in less developed areas are poorly lit or monitored, making safety a constant concern, especially during early mornings or late night. Despite São Paulo's extensive transit network, these combined factors, overcrowding, delays, strikes, and safety risks, make commuting in the city a grueling and stressful experience for millions of residents. Number 3, Mumbai, India. It is famous for its lifeline, the city's commuter rail system. With millions of people relying on suburban trains daily, these trains are often dangerously overcrowded, especially during peak hour. Passengers frequently hang from doors and cling to rooftops just to get to work or school on time, creating a high risk of accidents and fatalities. Even experienced locals must navigate the chaos carefully, while newcomers and tourists often find the crowds overwhelming and intimidating. Beyond the trains, Mumbai's road-based transit faces its own set of challenges. Buses, auto rickshaws, and taxis all share streets with heavy private vehicle traffic, resulting in severe congestion. Roads are frequently clogged during rush hour, and the city's dense population means that delays are inevitable. Commuters often spend several hours each day just traveling a few kilometers, which takes a significant toll on productivity and daily life. Poor traffic enforcement and inconsistent scheduling of buses further exacerbate the difficulties of commuting in this megacity. Infrastructure and safety issues compound the challenge. Many railway stations and bus stops are overcrowded, poorly maintained, or lack adequate lighting, increasing the risk of accidents and crime. Seasonal monsoon rains can flood tracks and streets, bringing transit to a near halt and leaving commuters stranded. Despite ongoing investments in metro and monorail lines, the sheer volume of daily passengers continues to overwhelm the system. For residents of Mumbai, commuting is not just a routine, it's a daily test of endurance, patience, and adaptability, making the city one of the most challenging in the world for public transit users. Number 2, Mexico City, Mexico. One of the largest cities in the world, faces significant challenges in public transportation due to its massive population and high commuter demand. The city's metro system, while extensive and affordable, is notorious for overcrowding during peak hours. Millions of riders pack into trains designed for far fewer passengers, creating uncomfortable and sometimes unsafe conditions. For many, navigating the network requires advanced planning and patience, as even short trips can become stressful experiences. Beyond the metro, the city relies heavily on buses and suburban rail lines, many of which suffer from delays and inconsistent schedules. Traffic congestion on roads makes bus travel unpredictable, while shared streets, with taxis, motorbikes, and private vehicles, create chaotic conditions. Pickpocketing and petty crime are common, especially in crowded areas and busy stations, adding an extra layer of anxiety for daily commuters. These issues make commuting in Mexico City not only inconvenient, but also a safety concern for many riders. Infrastructure and maintenance problems further strain the system. Aging trains, limited air conditioning, and underfunded maintenance programs contribute to frequent breakdowns and service disruption. The city has invested in modernization projects, but population growth continues to outpace improvements, leaving overcrowding and delays as persistent problems. For residents of Mexico City, relying on public transit is a daily challenge that requires patience, awareness, and endurance, making it one of the toughest cities in the world for commuters to navigate efficiently and safely. Number 1. New York City, USA. The largest city in the United States relies heavily on its extensive public transit system, but commuting here is far from easy. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority, MTA, operates subways, buses, and commuter rails that transport millions daily, yet aging infrastructure and constant maintenance issues make delays and service disruptions common. Overcrowded subway cars during peak hours leave commuters packed shoulder to shoulder, while frequent signal problems and train breakdowns add unpredictability to even routine journeys. Buses and commuter trains also face significant challenges navigating the city's dense streets. Traffic congestion often slows buses to a crawl, making them unreliable for time-sensitive travel. In addition, service interruptions due to construction, accidents, or weather are not uncommon, forcing commuters to adapt quickly and seek alternative routes. The city's reliance on an aging transit network means that even minor disruptions can have cascading effects, causing delays across the system that affect millions of riders. Safety and convenience further complicate commuting in New York City. Pickpocketing, harassment, and occasional violent incidents in crowded trains or stations pose real concerns for passengers. While the city has invested in modernization projects and new subway cars, the system struggles to meet the demands of a rapidly growing population. For locals and tourists alike, navigating New York's public transit requires patience, alertness, and flexibility, making it one of the most challenging cities in the world for daily commuters. Conclusion, and there you have it, the most challenging cities for public transit commuters around the world. From overcrowded trains in Mumbai and Manila to unpredictable delays in New York and Paris, these cities prove that commuting can be one of the most stressful parts of daily life. If you've ever braved the chaos of public transportation in any of these cities, you know how much patience, endurance, and quick thinking it takes. Each of these cities highlights the importance of infrastructure, planning, and management in keeping millions of people moving efficiently and safely. Which city on this list do you think is the toughest to navigate by public transit? Or have you experienced commuting nightmares in your own city? Share your stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to discover top 10 places for more fascinating rankings and city insights from around the globe. Thanks for watching, and remember, whether it's a bus, train, or subway, stay safe out there.